Welcome to your dose of salt and light with myself, Nadine Ness. It is Thursday. Wow, the week is flying by. It is Thursday, right? I didn't get my days mixed. I'm 4 minutes late. I was I was talking to David, and he's not in yet, but hopefully he will be in soon. I was talking to him, and I said, "Stop distracting me. I gotta get ready for the show." So okay, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Canadian Tire buying the Bay. We're going to talk about Comey. Comey. I don't even know how to say it. I don't even know who this guy was until today. As a Canadian, we don't hear about everything that's going on. So we're going to talk about him. And then, hi, Jonathan. Hi, Heather. I don't know where David is. He said he was coming in. He was watching Clyde do something. Clyde was doing an episode on the ostrich farm. I'm actually going to talk about that, but I just realized I don't have anything up on the screen. So I'll bring it up once we start talking about it. And what else? What else? I don't know if you guys are in Saskatchewan, but there's like the most beautiful sunset right now. And I'm missing it. But Heather, go look and see, go look outside. It's super pretty. But yeah, Clyde is done. David just told me. I'm gonna see where he is. But David's my admin too. So he keeps everyone in check. So what else are we going to talk about? Yeah, the NDP continuing its authoritarianism, authoritarian reign, or attempts at a reign. They're not in power, thankfully. Hi, David. There you are. Okay, so well, and I was even telling David today. I'm like, I don't even know what to talk about on the show right now because I was looking at what was trending, and all of it is like things that I don't know. So, like, I assume when I don't know the name, it's probably hockey, but I don't know if it was hockey or not. Maria, we've missed you. I don't think you've been in the last few, or maybe you have, and my memory's just bad. So, okay, let's let's uh let's share. Oh, and I just realized I don't even have the screen ready to share videos, but let's see if this works. Oh, this is a post from last time. I didn't get to share it, but so I wanted to play it. So I'll play this first and then we'll get into the topics. But I got to share the regular screen cuz it's a video. But first, I'll read it. The U.S. is making trade deals with the rest of the world, and tariffs are being dropped or substantially reduced. And our government still has their elbows up. This is why nobody takes Canada seriously. Why would anyone want to do business here? If you notice that I skip words sometimes, is because I don't want to say any words that I wouldn't say in front of my kids. So so if you see me read something and I skip a word, it's because it's probably a bad word. Okay. Let's play this video. I'll have to do the screen share. So that takes me like a second to get going. I should have done it sooner. There you go. Here. I gotta switch to the better one. This one. Okay. Let's watch this video. I haven't watched it. I'll just be honest. I haven't watched it yet. I just saw the title. I'm like, oh, this might have some good stuff. Hi, Roger. Roger? Roger. I said it in French. Sorry, I don't know why. I thought maybe you were from New Brunswick, but your last name is Lawrence, so it's not French. Roger. And life being be in it? I don't even know what. Anyways, he's from down under. Does that mean Australia? I think it does. Okay, here you go.
This
Let's play
morning,
it.
a major trade breakthrough and possibly some relief for Americans. The
See me-
U.S. and China
Let me know if
announcing
you
that
can hear
both
it.
countries will dramatically reduce tariffs for 90 days while they negotiate.
We had very robust discussions.
De-escalating the trade war that was started by President Trump's massive tariffs on China that had raised prices and rocked the market. The U.S. agreeing to lower its 145% tax on Chinese goods to 30%, while China will go from a 125% tariff on American products to 10%. China is one of the top trading partners for the U.S., last year exchanging more than $582 billion worth of goods. After tariffs from both sides, many businesses in the U.S. warned of rising prices and delays. Now, negotiations continue, China saying the agreement is, quote, an important step.
I think we're going to have a very good relationship.
This morning, a major trade breakthrough and possibly some relief for Americans.
So a lot of trades. I thought they were going to talk about Canada, but it didn't. So yeah. So while Trump is making, have you guys seen what it was that Trump was announcing? Was it the medication stuff or the big pharma stuff? Yeah, David says the USA still's got upper hand in this 30 versus 10. Hi Linda, good evening to you too. Jonathan says, I hate that elbows up thing. I saw someone with an elbows up sweatshirt and I also saw it on a bumper sticker. It kind of makes you want to roll your eyes, doesn't it? It's like the I got vaccinated sticker. And David, where is our useless Canada Carney? He wants us to suffer, so he won't. He still has not made the announcement. Oh, he hasn't. Okay. Trump hasn't made the announcement yet. Some people have said that it was the big pharma thing. Did you guys hear about Mark Carney saying that he's not going to introduce a budget this year? Some speculation is because if he does and it gets voted down, it goes into an election again. But David says, I saw the elbows up bumper sticker. Sorry, I have hiccups. If you notice, I had it before. Squirrel Nuts is here. Oh, Squirrel is saying the big Trump announcement was farmer prices. Good day. Squirrel, are you always on Twitter or are you sometimes on YouTube? I feel like you're sometimes on YouTube too, but maybe not. Okay, next. Next, where's the Canadian Tire thing? Here. Well, I had two things. What happened? Oh, here it is. Canadian Tire is buying Hudson Bay's collection of brands, include the Bay name as well as its famed stripes motive in a $30 million deal. I'm curious as to what this is going to look like if they're going to buy up the stores too. Or is Canadian Tire going to start carrying clothes? They do carry like decor and stuff. They've kind of upgraded a bit in some of the stuff that they carry, but Brian Lilly had this to say. Happy to hear this. Love the Tire, love the Bay. The leadership of the Bay couldn't adjust to make themselves relevant. Canadian Tire has not only survived onslaughts from Walmart and online, they have thrived. They also have their own stable of brands. Yeah, but Canadian Tire also like brings a lot of stuff from China. Versus like I feel like the Bay was more like higher quality stuff, but it was also more expensive. But maybe that's like the route that things are going now. David says I hate Canadian Tire, sorry. There's a nut. E-sharp is in here. E-sharp, is that from a note? Like music sheets? I'm trying to remember if you're like one of the regular. You must be. You say hello Nadine in chat. The It's like when you go to Princess Auto, you can smell the imports because everything's kind of from China. So you can smell that. Canadian Tire has the same smell. Like you can smell it when you go in. But they do have good stuff too sometimes. We do shop there a bit. Maria says, I didn't hear that Trump's announcement was about Canada. Okay, E Sharp says a music note that doesn't exist. Okay. See that just shows I don't know anything about music. Okay. I do sing in worship. Like I used to be on the worship team at church, but I don't. I used to read music. I used to play the saxophone and the flute. So technically I am musical. Yeah. Ooh, Roger says my credit card was compromised during the lockdown at Canadian Tire. We go there for like bike stuff. They have a lot of bike stuff at Canadian Tire. And we have good Christmas decor, cheaper Christmas decor in the winter. Yeah, so what do you guys think about this? Technically, they didn't buy all the store. I think they just bought the brand. An alto sax. I think that's what it is, the main one. That's what I played. And I played the flute, like the sideway flute. And even when I went to depot, like when I went to RCMP training, when you're at depot, you're part of a troop and you have to sign up for certain duties. So some of it can be like right marker is kind of like the most like demanding one where you kind of lead the troop in march and stuff and you're kind of like the leader of the troop. But then there'll be other duties that you have. Well, one of the duties is band. So band is probably the second most work for all the duties. I'm trying to remember what all the other ones were. But band would probably be the most time consuming because every morning you have to go to band practice and at lunchtime you have to march and play music in the band in the parade. So and there's a parade every day if I'm remembering correctly. So your lunchtime you're like rushing to try to get food in you. Sometimes you only get 5 minutes to eat and I was like exhausting so many calories that I didn't have enough time to eat enough to shove my face enough for the amount of calories I was burning throughout the day because it was so physically demanding when you're there. And I didn't have the whole lunch hour because we would have to go to band. So yeah, I like got really, really thin and not in a good way when I was there. But yeah, so I played band. I'm sure I'm on some video somewhere in my red surge playing the little flute. Oh, I also got a heat stroke. Canada Day parade was 36 without the humidity, plus 36 outside. And I'm allergic to wool, so the red surge is all wool, so I always would have to wear an extra layer underneath. So just imagine 36 above without the humidity and I'm wearing a wool uniform plus an extra layer underneath. Anyways, I ended up in the hospital with a major heat stroke. I went through it and I collapsed and I don't remember this. I collapsed once we got back and they had to get me via ambulance to the hospital. They put 4 bags of saline into me before I even went to use the washroom. So just I don't miss wearing the red surge when it was that warm. So, especially with the extra layer on. Yeah, they don't make them in cotton. It's only I'm just looking to see what else there is here. Okay, I got distracted sharing old memories. Let's talk James Comey. So this is what's trending in the US right now. I didn't know who he was, but apparently he's the FBI director that was in charge of a lot of the stuff that happened that wasn't correct about like the Russia gate, all of that. So I'm going to play a video. It kind of explains it. But what was he thinking? Here. I like Tulsi Gabbard. Let's play a video about her. With her.
Tulsi Gabbard's the director of national intelligence. Are you buying that the former FBI director didn't know what 86 Trump meant?
Absolutely not, Jesse. That is a ridiculous and insane statement to make, certainly within this context, but especially coming from a guy who's the former director of the FBI, a guy who spent most of his career prosecuting mobsters and gangsters, people who know and execute other humans and use this exact lingo of 86. Comey himself admitted in his follow-on message that he knew that this was a political statement. Well, the only reason he knew that, Jesse, was because a little over a month ago, a bunch of anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk protesters were proliferating the use of this 8647 slogan, which was a veiled call to action to murder the sitting president of the United States. So for Comey to think that we, the American people, are so stupid as to think that he, as a former FBI director, former prosecutor, and someone who clearly pays attention to what's going on, would believe his lie that he didn't know what this actually was calling for. The dangerousness of this, Jesse, cannot be underestimated. When we have 2 assassination attempts on the president's life, when we have people who look to guys like Comey, who've been celebrated by MSNBC and the Democrat elite and CNN as the beacon of integrity, the law and order guy, the guy who would tell the truth no matter what the consequences. This is the guy who's issuing a hit on President Trump, the president that the American people voted for. So it's guys like Comey and others who call the president the modern day Nazi, people who are in great positions of influence, who are saying that President Trump poses an existential threat to our country. These are people who hate democracy and hate the American people because they cannot stand that the people overwhelmingly chose to elect Donald Trump and send him back to the White House. So they are seeking other means to get their way and to try to remove him from that position.
How serious is the administration taking this? And what are the next steps going to be?
We're taking this very seriously. As you mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security, and specifically Sean Curran, the current Secret Service director, a man who has been willing to lay down his life as the lead of President Trump's Secret Service detail for years now. He takes this seriously and is leading the investigation into this threat. There has to be accountability for this. There was a Rutgers study that just came out a little over a month ago, Jesse, that asked respondents their view on these calls to assassinate President Trump. And over 55% of respondents felt that murdering President Trump would be, quote unquote, somewhat justified. This is the effect of people like James Comey doing this kind of stuff. This study also pointed out that there is a, quote unquote, assassination culture that is starting to take over the views of what they call the extreme left. We, the American people, cannot take this lightly. Whatever your politics, we cannot allow people to get by without being held accountable for this kind of public call to assassinate the president of the United States.
Do you believe that Comey is goading you guys to come after him because he wants to be a political martyr? He wants to be set up so he can say, oh, look, we were right. Donald Trump is a dictator. They're coming after me. They're arresting me. They're interrogating me. I was just using my free speech.
You know, whatever his intent, I will tell you that there's a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law, which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the president of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do. Any other person with a position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
Direct.
It's funny because I was wondering here, I'm going to go back to where we had that on screen. I was wondering what 86, David, you said, you know what that means from the 70s, you knew what 86 meant. Like, what's the code word? Because like we don't have 10, like we have code words when I was a police officer that means certain things, but it goes up to 51 in the RCMP. So we didn't like dead or potential dead would be 1038. So like if we went to fatality, we'd have a 1038. I was trying to go back to see what all the codes were because it's been so long. It's been what, almost 7 years, 6 years, 7 years since I left the force. So was it 2018? So yeah, that's 7. Was it 2018? Maybe. I think it was. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know like this was a thing, but apparently there's a movement going on where they're posting that on like shirts. And Tara Lee, I did see your message about the National Post had an article about Canada dropping the tariff. So I did find it. Let's bring it up here on the screen. Oh, I don't know if it's going to let me read it. Canada's new tariff on US dropped to nearly zero with exemptions. Oxford Economics. It's a very strategic approach from a new PM saying we're not going to have a retaliation, says Tony Stillo, Oxford's Director of Canada Economics. Canada has effectively suspended almost all of its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products, tamping down inflation risk and improving its growth outlook, according to Oxford Economics. The government imposed new import tax of 25% on about 60 billion US made goods in March in response to the first round of tariffs from the Trump administration. Canada also retaliated against US auto tariffs in early April by putting its own levies on US vehicles. But Prime Minister Mark Carney's government then announced a 6-month tariff exemption for products used in Canada manufacturing, processing, and food and beverage packaging for items related to healthcare, public safety, and national security. Automakers got a break too. Companies that manufacture in Canada, such as General Motors, are allowed to import some vehicles into Canada tariff-free. Those exemptions mean Canada's tariff rate increased on the US to nearly zero, according to calculations by Oxford. It's a very strategic approach from a new prime minister to really say, we're not going to have a retaliation. It's funny, I hadn't even heard about this until you mentioned this. Retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. goods remains, including food items such as orange juice, alcohol, and coffee, as well as clothing and cosmetic. Carney fought and won an election last month by convincing millions of Canadian voters that he was the best candidate to handle a trade war with the U.S., which buys about 3/4 of Canadians' export. Anyways, I kind of feel like that's like usually Canada Post is pretty like conservative leaning. Sorry, I'm just gonna go through some comments here. Oh, there's so many I missed. Dylan says, but that still leaves the milk and egg mafia. Yes, speaking of the egg mafia, I wasn't going to bring this up, but have you guys heard about the guy that was put in jail for selling his own eggs in Alberta? I'm going to see if I
Who clearly pays attention to what's going on.
I'm going to see if I have it in my bookmarks. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think I might have bookmarked it. Let's see if I can search it quickly. If I search egg cartel, it might come up. Let's see if I do Alberta man jailed over eggs. I think they want to come cull his 1,000 eggs. We're going to talk about culling soon too. Here it is. Donald posted about it. RCMP arrests farmer for selling eggs. Judge orders farmer not to tell the news media. Ooh. Comrade farmer thought he owned his chickens and his farms in the Great Socialist Republic of Canada. Comrade farmer was mistaken and will now be re-educated. His family will be punished too, so as to deter other wreckers of Central Egg Plan. About 1,000 chickens could be killed as Alberta farmer battles egg cartel. A 61-year-old egg farmer near Lethbridge says he faces court-ordered cull of 1,000 laying hens after his arrest on Wednesday for allegedly selling eggs outside of the quota system regulated by the Egg Farmers of Alberta. So just so you guys know, in Canada, and we have the same thing in Saskatchewan as well, you can only own up to 3, or is it sell up to 300 eggs a day or own up to 300 chickens? I'm not sure which one, but the magic number is 300. So I'm gonna talk about chickens because I have chickens and I love them and I have way more than I thought I had. But anyways, my husband and I have been contemplating, let's just get some tons of chickens and have like these. I don't know if you've seen them in Ireland. They have these little booths or whatever. You go there and you pay, you give your card and it gives you, like, it opens a door and you can get your eggs. So have these little kind of egg supply everywhere, whatever you want to call it. But you're limited to 300. I think it's 300 chickens. Anyways, this guy is over the 300. So he's challenging it. And you know what? Mad respect for this guy. And I'll tell you why. I grew up in a family who doesn't, I didn't grow up in a family. Sorry, I married into a family that my husband grew up in a family that firmly believes that the government shouldn't control how you make a living, what you do with your life, how many chickens you have, or who to sell your wheat to or your grain to. So for those of you who may not know, way back in the 90s, I think it was in the 90s when he got arrested, there was the wheat board in the Western provinces. Now, the East Coast could sell their grain to whoever they wanted. But in the West, you could only sell it to the government and they would determine what the rate was, the price was. And my father-in-law, my husband's father, went and fought against this. And so there was a bunch of farmers that gathered together and they decided they were going to challenge the wheat board. So what they did is they drove across the border with, I think, like a 5 bushel, I think is what it was. They sold 5 bushels of wheat to a 4-H club in Montana, I believe. And so my husband did too. My husband was 16 at the time. And they told the border ahead of time, like this was like a big coordinated thing. A whole bunch of farmers did it. And they told the border ahead of time that they were doing this. They came back. They all got arrested, including my husband. They ended up dropping the charges on my husband, probably because it doesn't look good to have that on a 16-year-old. But but if they didn't pay the fines, they eventually did jail time. So my father-in-law was one of the 13 farmers who actually went to jail over it. And I think it was something like a week. But what it did, it created this massive amount of publicity over what was happening and over farmers being upset about the government controlling their way of life. And the funny thing is, at first, when they first started this, it wasn't super popular. It wasn't the majority public opinion was supporting these farmers. In fact, the opposite. But over time, as the campaign continues, as they got interviewed, as they worked on swaying public opinion, it eventually became the popular opinion that we need to abolish this. And then Harper came in and abolished the wheat board. And then my father-in-law was given a full pardon. They were invited to this thing. And my father-in-law was like, I don't want to get a pardon for this. That jail time and that conviction, I hold it with pride kind of thing. I'm explaining it. No, I'm not explaining it properly, but basically I can't remember if it was Jerry Ritz says, look, we did a lot of work for this. You better come and get your pardon. But anyways, so I grew up, I married into a family. I didn't grow up in that, but I married into that family, and my husband still has the same mindset as his father. So maybe that's what it's going to take, a whole bunch of people having more than 300 chickens to challenge the status quo. And I think it's starting to be talked about, but these organizations have a lot of sway into who gets elected. They very much have huge influence over political candidates. And I remember hearing about the dairy one having a big role or a big say into the O'Toole leadership race. Like, these are just things I've heard. Look, I don't have like the proof of that receipts, but I think it was Jerry Ritz. Yeah, Firecracker said, wasn't Gerald Ritz? Jerry Ritz. Yeah. I'm reading some comment. David says, I remember when this happened, and here we are interneting with that rebel farmer's daughter-in-law. Who knew? I know, right? It's kind of funny too, because when Jonathan I'm gonna switch to the main screen. When Jonathan married me, there was no rebel. There was no I wasn't like this activist. I was like a stay-at-home like wife, like barefoot and pregnant. And then he started it. He said, "You should go on Twitter." I'm like, "No, I've been on there. It's so gross. It's so toxic." He's like, "No, just go on Twitter," because he was on Twitter, and he'd have these Twitter wars. And so anyways, I got on Twitter, and then I'm like, "Ooh, I really like having opinions on things." And I started like researching things, and he would like give me the history of who's who in politics. So I learned about a lot of the little scandals that happen in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, in politics. And then I started interacting with political people. I started interacting with like Sheila Gunn Reid, and some of these other people got added into group chats with them at the time. And then I started realizing, oh boy, have I been misled a lot. So, and then I started becoming political. And then COVID happened, and then I really got political. So, but yeah, all that to say, that's a long story to say, good for this farmer. He's has the same spirit as my father-in-law, and he's now saying, I'm going to sell my eggs who I want to. And just so you know, there's no such thing as like the egg, whatever industry, what are they called? Egg farmers of Alberta. There's no such thing in the US. Like, anybody can grow eggs. There's no limit, there's no quotas. And it's not like if you want to become an egg farmer, you can go and buy a quota. The quotas are so expensive that you'd never make a living. David says we should have another Q&A session with you and Dr. JD, as in JD Vance, because he looks so much like him. Yeah, we should. I'll see. I'll see if he'll come and do an episode with me, maybe next week. He did one a while back. Okay, so speaking of chickens, first, Kenzie says, my uncle was a grain farmer. He was mad about the whole thing, but more from the financial ramification. I think, Kenzie, there was like some people said like how it got abolish and where the assets went or something. There was some shady stuff with that, some people have said, but I don't know all the details of it. And then but yeah, okay, chickens. So today was the first time I actually decided to start counting. So just so you know, we had 3 chickens and only one of them would lay and the other 2 were broody and would get so mean. I couldn't even go get the eggs that the one was laying. They would just like attack me. And I eventually figured out if I put the broom in the box, then I can like protect my hand with the broom and then grab the eggs from under the chicken. So but I had 3 and then we were friends with Hutterites out of Leask and she's like, we're getting rid of our old chickens. And they say old chickens, but they're not that old. They're still laying at 95%. So they might be like 2 years old, I think, 2 or 3 years old. She's like, we're getting rid of them or butchering them. If you want to come get some that are currently laying. I'm like, yes. Because if I get chicks, it's like 8 months before they lay. So I'm like, yes. So we go there like a dog kennel thing to put the chickens in. And I said, oh, I'll have 15. They just shoved a ton in there. And I counted and I have 29 chickens. So I didn't realize it was that many because they kind of huddled together. They're not used to being out in the open. Like right now I let them roam the whole yard, but they're so used to being in cages. So they're all huddling and I hadn't counted them. No, we have 29 chickens and I thought we had 21. I thought, okay, they might have given a few extra because we had said 15. They might have given a few extra. But then this morning I'm counting the eggs and I'm like, I have 25 eggs. I can't have 25 eggs if I only have 21 chickens. I'm like, there must be more than 21 in here. There's 29. So yeah, I have way more chickens than I need. So now we're giving away eggs. My daughter's probably gonna like do a little business and share it with like neighbors and stuff. Kenzie says, you are a conspiracy theorist now, Nadine. It's official. It happens when you realize you have been misled. Well, I think I realized that when I went from being a Trudeau voter to a conservative. And Esharp asked, do I have a rooster? No, I do not. I've had one in the past. I don't want one. They are all laying now, but the rooster also gets them to be broody too. Anyways, they're not broody now. When we introduce all the city slickers chickens, that's what I call them, city slickers, because they have no idea how to be out in the wild, out in the country. They're used to like cages, but when we put the city slickers chickens in there, they stop brooding. I think it was too much of a stress. And today, I love my chickens. I just love going out there and I feed them. I want like a really orange yolk. So I feed them worms. What's it called? They're like dead, but they're like worms. They're not worms, they're something else. It was super good with calcium and stuff. So every morning I go out there and I put a couple pictures of these worms all over the yard so that they go from outside of the coop into the yard and explore a bit more. So what are they called? Oh, mealworm. Yeah, they are worms. They're called mealworms. So Jonathan said, I never thought you'd be putting your hand in a bag full of bugs because I hate bugs. But he's like, you'll do anything for those chickens. And this morning, so they have like a hanging feeder, like where you fit a whole bag because I have so many chickens now. I'm going through a lot of feed. And I'm like looking in there because it's open to the top. And the broody chicken, the really mean one, she lays like this really long, yet tiny white egg, the mean one. And she laid it in the feeder. Like it was inside the feeder. I should have taken a picture. We'll see if she does it again tomorrow. But anyways, they're fun. I think I could do 1,000 chicken. What do you guys think? Should we build a really big barn or coop and get 1,000 chickens? And then then I'll go to jail. Like this Hank Van Essen. What do you guys think? Should we all do that? Mm. I wonder if you can have 300, is that per family? Or could we each team up where all of you guys have like a part of our barn and then we have 1,000, but really it's like 4 people with their quotas? I don't know. I'd like to see the legislation. Yeah, David says, sell me one of your lots and we can co-chicken. Yeah, Dylan says a 300 chicken timeshare. Let's do that. Yeah, that David, we are subdividing some of our land. We're not listing it publicly because we want freedom-minded people who won't rat out their family members for having Christmas dinner. So we are selling some lots. It's on the river. Well, not right on the river, Riverview, but not up to the river. But Saskatchewan's really cold. I will warn you. The winters are rough. But I will let you know. Okay, next story. We're having fun here. I'm having fun. I don't know if you guys are. It's a little bit more about the
This obvious.
I want to see. I don't know who Kellyanne Poles is. Okay, what is the 86 threat? Is that like a code? The 8647. I know what they're saying it means, but where does the 86 come from? Do you guys know? Like, is it like a police code in the US that means like dead or assassinated? Like, where does it come from? Firecracker says winters are rough and cold, but people are very warm. I did Google it, but maybe I should have asked Grok. Let's ask Grok instead. Because when I Googled it, it was kind of useless. Why does 8647 Let's see what Grok says. Okay, so term 86 is an American slang originating from the restaurant industry, meaning to remove, discard, or get rid of something or someone. It has been used since the 1930s to denote items sold out or to eject undesirable customers. Over time, in some contexts, 86 has taken on a more violent connotation, with some sources like Cassell Dictionary of Slang noting it can mean to kill or murder since the 1970s, probably referencing a grave's dimensions 8 feet long, 6 feet deep. Oh. While Merriam-Webster acknowledges this violent meaning, it notes its relative recency and sparseness of use. 47 means the 47th president, so Donald Trump, based on his second term beginning. Well, that would make sense. Well, if that's the case, and that would be a slang that's well known in the US for a long time. It's not something. Yeah, so 86 a salmon dinner means remove the salmon from the menu because we're out. Okay, I see. So I'm glad I asked Grok because they kind of explained it more. Maria's teasing David, says, David, you kept getting further from the equator every move because he's lived in, where did it, Inuvik and Whitehorse. Wow. Yeah, it's cold there. Much colder here. Okay, what else do I have here? So, oh, this was an old article, but oh, you can't see it there. Let's see if I do the screen. The anti-separation bill would double the number of signatures needed for citizen plebiscite on separation. You know what's funny though? They use plebiscite here, but in every other article, and this is the NDP doing this, but every other article, they use referendum. They don't even use the proper term. So they introduced it on Wednesday. It was supposed to be voted on today. Do you guys know if it got voted on? I was trying to find it before this. Yeah, the bill is called Keep Saskatchewan in Canada Act. Ah, good old NDP. I call them now the new authoritarian party. So this is an article about the Sask legislature sitting. Whiplash pace of 8 weeks sitting reflects breakneck developments throughout Canada. So it started in March. So today I think was the last day. So they'll be done now for a while. Just in time for our town halls. I think it got voted down because if it hadn't gotten voted down, it would be all over media right now. I'm just looking here to see what it says. Saskatchewan spring sitting open March 19th with Finance Minister Jim Ryder tabling the government's annual budget that day. It's a rare move. Sittings normally open with a few weeks of business before the budget is tabled. The official opposition immediately criticized the decision, saying it was proof that the government was uninterested in accountability. I'm just checking to see that they're not talking about that, but let's see what's the NDP with their elbows up. The NDP attempted a variety of stunts this sitting. First, MLAs attempted to wear a Team Canada jersey into the legislature that quickly failed. Witherspoon later put a physical copy of the provincial budget through a shredder, saying it emphasizes how the budget wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. Why do they do that? Like, why do they do this theatrical performance? Like, I feel like sometimes, like, all of them are like high school students. The focus in the legislature quickly shifted after federal Liberal leader Mark Carney earned a minority government. The familiar threat of Western separation, became the main topic in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Mo told media on Thursday that he's made himself clear secession and separation are not an option. I truly believe there's an opportunity for Saskatchewan to grow and prosper within a united Canada. It's in the very fabric of the party I lead, Mo says. For now, I think it's very much at the core of what, if not the majority, virtually all of Saskatchewan people believe as well. I don't believe that. That did not stop NDP leader Carla Beck from repeatedly calling the Premier's commitment to Canada into question. Despite her best effort, Beck was unsuccessful at getting her Keep Saskatchewan in Canada Act passed. The act would have amended Saskatchewan's referendum plebiscite act to include separation referendum from the list of referendums that the premier or legislative assembly would be legally allowed to call. Okay, so it didn't pass. It would have raised the threshold for successful citizen petition on separation referendum require signatures from 30% of eligible voters instead of 15%. See, here's my thoughts on this. The 15% is still 122,000 people. When you think about how many people, let's see how many people voted in the last Sask election. Let's just ask Rob. How many people voted in the Sask election? So 54% of eligible voters casted their ballots, totaling around 440,000 voters based on an estimated 811,000 eligible voters. So here, let's I'm just going to calculate something quickly here. Times 15%. So yeah, that's 15% is 121,650. If we were to like give or take a few, they'll probably reject some. So if we go like 123,000 to 125,000 would be probably like, if once we have that, then we could go ahead and do the petition. But just to give you an idea, the election was talked about for months and months and months. It was all over the media. It was all over billboards everywhere. Everyone knew the election was coming. And yet there was 440,000 people that voted only. So if you want to be realistic of even gaining the public enough for them to be willing to sign a signature, I don't think 15% is that unreasonable or too low. I think if you were to go 30%, when you consider how many people actually went and voted, if that would be 240,000, just over half the amount of people who actually went and voted. That would be unrealistic. So now 122,000, whatever, that's more realistic. And I think it's achievable and attainable if we have the proper team to go and do the work that's going to be required to get the signatures. Now, we're in Saskatchewan, we're seeing there's less hunger for it or drive for it. It's not that people don't want separatism. I think they don't want to do all the work for a plebiscite when it's non-binding. Versus in Alberta, they do the signature for a petition, it becomes a referendum that is binding, which means the government has to act on what the people voted on. Versus a plebiscite, they don't. So it's all this work, all this resources, and this is just what I'm hearing, right? It's all this work, all these resources for something that the government doesn't even need to do anything about. So, and that's where I find there's less of an appetite here in Saskatchewan, just because it's less of a final result from the efforts put in. Now, there are easier ways to do it, and that would be get directly involved in the governing parties. So in your area, it might be NDP, and I've been like teaching people about this. If your government is not reflecting of you, do you own a party membership? For one, do you show up in the nomination races? Like 99% of the people, when I ask this, they say, no, I don't even know what a nomination race is, which is the election that occurs before to determine which candidate will be on the ballot. Now, if the 125,000 people that are willing to sign this petition were to get directly involved, Sask Party only has 27,000 members to their party. If we get 125,000 members, we basically become the new party. Like the people will become, and the NDP has 6,700, I think. So you could even take over that one. You could do both. So, and I say take over, it's not like an undemocratic thing. It's not illegal. This is how the democratic process work in Canada. And because we have so little amounts of people that participate in it, that's why you have a government that's not reflective of the people. And that's kind of what we've been trying to teach people is get involved. And it's funny because the NDP are all over that. Like they are losing their mind. They're probably watching this, and I'm glad you're losing your mind, because we're going to educate the people to show up where it matters. So if you're watching, consider this a warning. Carla Beck was saying that Scott Moe is playing with separatists or playing with fire with separatists because he's afraid to lose his job. Carla, you should be afraid to lose your job too, because all it would take is for about 400 of us to show up at your convention, which is what, this year? Is it this fall? I'm going to make sure to advertise it to get as many people as we can to show up at your convention. And maybe when the question's asked, do you think Carla Beck should stay the leader? Or when we ask for a leadership review of Carla Beck, guess what happens when 400 people show up and you only can bring 200 people? The answer is probably going to be no, she needs to be replaced. So imagine if both parties, we had people who were willing to defend our province to the end as both leaders of both parties. I think that would be like win-win. It's funny because these people always try to push for new parties because they want to silence your voice. They want to push the people out so you don't have to listen to the people you don't want to listen to. And that's often what happens in movements. And you see that like in Alberta, how many parties got started, independence parties? They all would fraction into all these parties, and then no one would actually come together. Well, I'm not a political party. I couldn't care less. I have no loyalty to any specific party. I have more loyalty to my family and my province than I do to a political party. And maybe some people don't like that because I don't fit the regular mold. And I don't teach people to fit the regular mold. So what I teach them to is how to get more involved so your government is reflective of you. And if we have 100,000 people do that, well, by next year we might actually have a referendum vote. So then the government can do it. David says that would be a boss move, Nadine. You would make the national news. Unfortunately, they won't let me in. But how are they going to know who everyone is that guy gets a membership to the party? They'll never know. And that's the thing. Like, if we have 100,000 people, we do, we have 34% of the province. So, and if we can activate those 34% or more, it's growing by the day. It's going to keep growing. So I'm going to keep doing democratic education. As I told Carla Beck, democracy is a wonderful thing, isn't it? And people say like democracy, we don't have democracy in Canada, it's broken. It's not. It's just the majority of Canadians have no clue how it works, have no clue how to get involved. And we're changing that. We're doing what the unions have been doing in the nonprofit organization that get all government funding to push the woke agenda. We're doing the exact thing they've been doing for a while. You want to know why every leftist party has got more and more radical to the left? It's because all of the radicals have taught other radicals on how to do exactly this. So best case scenario, this is what I'm going to say, best case scenario is we get hundreds of thousands of Saskatchewan people showing up at nomination, showing up at convention, showing up at all of these processes within our democracy. And then it stifles out the extreme because it becomes like the more middle ground the middle ground area. So that's best case scenario, where you get them teaching kids in school how democracy work. You get everyone to know what a nomination race is, how to get involved in a nomination race, how to get involved in a party. And then you get hundreds of thousands of Sask residents involved. Same thing federally. Quite frankly, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic that less than 1% of the population determines who's on a ballot for a particular party. Less than 1% of Canadians vote in the nomination race. That's so pathetic. It should be 20, 30, 40%. So yeah, we're working to change that. So I wanted to say this when I was telling Carla Beck, if you think your job is secure, come at me, bro. But I was gonna text that, but Jonathan said maybe sleep on it. Maybe don't add come at me, bro. David says, I have a feeling buyer's remorse is creeping in all these liberal voters. I know, right? And that's the funny thing. The they can it's funny too, this week they've been quite silent about UG. They realize we're growing and growing the more that we're talking about us. But my husband is like, I hope I never cross you, Nadine. And the thing is, I'm like a super nice person. I'm not like mean, but what I don't like is bullies. I don't like people who silence people. I don't like people who take away people's right to a vote or what right to democratic processes. I don't like that. So I can be very aggressive when I feel like I need to protect the little people. So, and it's always been in my nature. I think it's why I became a police officer to begin with. I don't like people who hurt other people or people who think that they know better for everyone or who want to control everyone. I don't like that. So yeah, come at me, Carla. Come at me, bro. I should clip this video and tag her in it. Lisa says Carla Beck lives 2 street over from you. And the thing is, like, I don't think they realize how this is actually going to harm them. Like, this is going to be playing all over the next election on how they tried to silence the people, how they think they know better what's better for the people. Yeah, Firecracker says, I'm with you 100%, Nadine. I'm for the underdog. Yeah. I'm usually pretty calm, pretty good, pretty kind. But if you're bullying someone, I'm the first one to step up and stand and say that needs to stop now. It's not going to happen under my watch, kind of thing. So, okay, another comment. Let's talk about Carla Beck getting fact checked. Carla Beck wrote, a vote on leaving Canada, even if it's unsuccessful, will be so harmful to our future. We should be focused on bringing people together right across this country, not tearing things apart. We should be focused on building generational project, more rail lines, more pipelines, more power lines. So we at Saskatchewan NDP will continue to fight for Saskatchewan, for Canada, for our future. You're not fighting, you're caving to the leftist mob who wants to destroy our province. But anyways, Post Canadian, I don't know who that is, said, fact check, an unsuccessful referendum has improved Quebec's autonomy and freedom within Canada. Carla Beck is incorrect. It's so true. Even if it was to not go fully through, it's already had massive intended effects just by the simple fact that people are saying we've had enough. So Lisa says, I gave friend Stephen Bonk's yard sign. They live right across the street from Carla. Was he the one running against her? Yeah, David says, I am kind and loyal, but do not tread on the weak. No. And that's the thing, like they've been like making mistakes after mistakes. They have no clue how bad this is gonna go for them. But yeah, that's it. That's all I've got today. We'll see. I'm glad the vote didn't go through. So we're gonna keep working. I'll give you guys a bit of an update. We've got another town hall finalized for Regina on June 22nd. If you haven't seen here, I'm just gonna bring up our website. I've got a few things to correct tomorrow. I'm meeting with the IT girl in the morning. So when you look at the petition page, here, I'm just going to bring this up. Well, I have to be careful because when I bring it up, it shows up all my information. Okay, here you go. I'm going to have to pop out. So this is like the first page you go in. It kind of goes through a few things. We're going to clean this up and make it way better when you first come on. But this is the petition registration. But I got to erase everything because it's putting my personal information in there. Okay. I'll bring it up. So it's showing 3842 signed up so far. So that's like people who've signed the petition. Now, the problem is when people come, there's the link. Okay, thanks, David. He put it in the group chat. When people show up to our website and they go to the main page, it also, you can sign up there to subscribe to our organization as well. But then, so some people are signing up there instead of the petition because the organization's getting shared, right? And it's a register for eventually the petition once we have it. So this is not the actual petition yet. It's to register. So when we have it, we can get a hold of you, get all those signatures easily, coordinate with you to get you to maybe hold a signature drive in your town. Like we would love to have all of like thousands and thousands of people to grab getting signatures from people. But anyway, so that's kind of what shows up. So 3,800, but I think on our website, we're over 7,000 right now that have signed up since we started. And then here, I'm just going to erase my address again before I bring you guys to the next page. And this is the event. So we're holding the first town hall May 25th. So it's not this Saturday, the next, in Saskatoon at Prairieland Park. So far, I think over 200 people have RSVP'd. So not everyone knows that they need to RSVP. Maria says, I got my first UG or Unified Grassroots email. I wrote that. I've been the one kind of sending it out. We sent one out last week, but we're going to send another one trying to get more signatures. We're trying to tell people, hey, if all 7,000 people who have signed up since send it to 10 people, we can turn 7,000 into 70,000, right? So kind of like making disciple concept. So, but yeah, so that's happening. I don't know, David, if you can share this Saskatoon _ town hall _ here. I'll see if I can just share it in the comments. If you want to come to Saskatoon for this event. And we picked Prairieland Park because it's one of the places where we could get like a big number. We so far have room for 400, but if we get more than 400 RSVP, we're going to see if they can give us a bigger location. I just don't want to pay for a bigger location if we're not going to get more. So, but we'll see. I'm going to give them a call tomorrow. Let's see what else here. I'm going to see. We got some donations come in too. I think we've got over 3,000 in the last week. So the hall rental was 1,500 for Saskatoon. So that's covered, and it's covering a bit of the other town halls. We're doing 15. So I think so far we've got Estevan, Weyburn booked, Moose Jaw, Regina, and then the rest we're working on. So we're going to post all of them when we have all of them booked, since they're not until June. They're all in June. The first one we're going to do is May 25th. So the rest will all be in June. So it'll still be plenty of notice. And I was just going to see what we were at for RSVP. I think it was close to 200, but I'm just going to go in and see. I posted it on X, and usually when I post like events and stuff, it doesn't really like spread a whole lot, but it did. It had like almost 300 retweets. You guys get live updates. Yeah, about 200 so far. And we still have 10 days. We're going to go to Prince Albert as well. Yeah, like we're doing 15 towns. So David donated. Thanks, David. You didn't need to do that. He gave us $25. You don't even live in Saskatchewan. E-sharp, what's your closest town? Like we're doing 15 of them, so we're going to pretty much every corner of the province. I'll list the ones that I can think of, and I might forget some. We're doing Shaunavon, Weyburn, Estevan, Yorkton, Melfort, Nipawin, Prince Albert, North Battleford, Meadow Lake, Lloyd, Kindersley, Swift Current. Oh, you're in Hudson Bay. That's like north of Yorkton. How far is Yorkton from you? Here, I'm trying to remember where Hudson Bay. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what. I'm trying to remember where it is. Bay. I seem to think it's close to Yorkton, but oh no, it's more north. I guess Nipawin would be, or Melfort might be your closest. Yeah, Yorkton, Melfort is the one. We're going Nipawin, Prince Albert. I'm trying to think. Estevan, Weyburn. We may have gone to Esterhazy as well last time. Moose Jaw, we're also going to Moose Jaw, Swift Current. Yeah, Shaunavon. We went to Leader as well. Kindersley. Yeah, Lloyd. So that kind of gives you guys an idea. Okay, Melfort's an hour and 45-minute drive. Yeah, it's a lot of stops. We're hoping to do them all in the next 3 months. So I've kind of put aside Tuesday because I do the show Mondays and Thursdays. So I put aside Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but if we're doing a lot of them, I might move the show to just once a week just so I can put more of my time doing that. Firecracker says he's trying to sign up. Are you trying to sign the petition? We did in the petition, we did ask for a phone number or an email. I think so that once we have the official petition, we have a way of getting a hold of you to let you know where you can go physically sign. Because obviously this is not a physical signature of a petition for the plebiscite, but yes, if you sign up to like volunteer or even just sign up on a regular site and not the petition, we'll get a hold of you because we're gonna get a hold of all our old members as well. So hopefully it'll work. But anyways. Scott Adams says here in the US calls liberals the theater kids because they're always engaging in dramatic publicity stunts. Ah. Oh, good, Heather. That would be good if Michael and you come. For everyone, just so you know, Heather and I are friends in real. We used to do Bible study together. I love that she's watching the show and supporting me. Yeah, so it might be the computer. I don't know. Okay, well, I'm going to go, guys. It is 10:18. My husband still not feeling super great. He had like stomach bug issue. He actually came home earlier yesterday. So, but so I don't know if he's sleeping so far, but I will be back on Monday. I don't have an interview scheduled this week, But if I do, I'll probably, if they give me a link that I can share, I'll probably just share the live stream whenever I'm a guest on someone's show if it has that option. But so far, I'm not scheduled for one. And I will see you guys on Monday. See ya.